Hello everybody, welcome to episode 2 of the multi-blind rebuild. I've got really good feedback on the last one. It seems like you guys enjoyed it, and so I'm very excited to be bringing you this next episode as well as all future episodes. This specific episode will go over my competition last weekend at North America Championships and hopefully discuss how I approached this large championship with a very competitive environment with other people who are very good at multi-blind. So, a situation in which I couldn't just step up and get like 30 points and win. So I'll just talk about that, and then maybe a bit what I plan to do in the next couple of months or weeks after this comp. So, like I said last time, I was going to this competition wanting to feel really safe about my first attempt, right? And so I was going to do 46 cubes, knowing that the main people I was up against were beating, I guess, someone like Stanley, and then on, let's say I did a bit worse, it would be beating Ethan Davis, and I think those were the two people I was mainly concerned with, just because they were in my point range. I knew Graham would probably completely demolish me, and of course he did, with the crazy 58 pointer. And then Rowe also DNF first attempt, but spoiler alert, he got a decent result, 42 points on X. So going to the first attempt, I was like, let me just take this 46 easy and do it. By the way, this is not the attempt you're watching. I will not spoil it yet, but anyway. So the first attempt, I did 46, and I went at a very slow pace, just really trying to make memo stick, and it did pretty well. The only issue was that I think there was a couple of recall mistakes, and so, if I was counting with my at-home counting system, I would give myself a 42 out of 46. However, during memorization, I turned a cube accidentally. I wasn't sure if I had completely turned it at the time, and so that slightly threw me off. I was a bit scared about what was going to happen, but luckily enough, I just put it back. I'm like, okay, I'm going to continue through with this attempt, and afterwards we'll go check the video. And I'm actually very impressed. A delegate did see the turn while it happened, and made sure we went over the video after the fact and checked it. So the attempt was a 42 out of 46, except that one DNF cube caused it to be a 41 out of 46. And when you first see that result, regardless of everything else, I was kind of annoyed because there was 5 DNFs, and I shouldn't be getting 5 DNFs on like under 50 attempts, especially when I'm going so safe. I'm not really sure what's going on, and it's hard to check with this camera angle that unfortunately wasn't super obvious to bring my normal phone stand type thing on with my luggage, because it's quite a big item. So I had to settle for this camera angle, and for that same reason I wasn't able to analyze DNF super easily. Anyways, 41 out of 46, and this is what the results looked like. Graham got his 61 out of 64 monster attempt, and I was in second, and then close behind me was Ethan Davis, and Stanley, I'm pretty sure, didn't do super well in the first attempt. So going into the second attempt, I knew my main people that I should be worried about are Rowe and Stanley, because Ethan got a pretty good result for himself, a 36 out of 37, I think, if I remember correctly, and so I knew that he probably wouldn't beat that. That's no offense if you're watching this, but that was what's going through my mind. I knew Stanley would. Stanley is pretty good at multi-blind, but sometimes all over the place from what I've seen, and so I was a bit worried about Stanley beating me. So I knew that I couldn't just keep my position. I had to go for something better, and because I was probably unlikely to break 36 points it was on another 46 attempt, I decided to go to 50, considering also that the attempt was only 56 minutes total on the last one. So I knew at about 1 minute per cube, if I went a bit faster, I would be fine in terms of time. And so I was just trying to game it about what other people were doing, and just try to base my attempt off of that. But I still wanted to have this huge safety margin because competing at a high pressure level is not always fun. So I knew obviously I wasn't going to get first. Second was a huge possibility, and third was also a big possibility. So I went into the attempt doing 50, and this is the attempt actually that you're watching, and the final result was 44 out of 50. And it's really weird. I'm not sure where those 6 DNFs came from. The attempt felt like a 50 out of 50. I was ready to take off my blindfold to see a world record 3 result, but unfortunately I didn't. And that was a bit disappointing at the time, but also I knew that it was a very solid attempt and that it would probably place me at least on the podium. So after talking to some other people, I had figured out that indeed it was a 3rd place finish. Stanley had managed to get a result that would have gotten 3rd if he was the only one to do the attempt, but also not beating my first attempt. So this attempt that I did here actually didn't really change anything. I'm just putting it because it's technically the better attempt. And then Rowe got, I think, 54 out of 66, if I remember correctly, 42 points. So he took 2nd place, leaving me in 3rd. But honestly, to share the podium with the two best multi-blinders in the world is quite an honor. And so I could not be happier with the result. I managed to, despite my shortcomings in multi-blind over the past year or so, I was still able to, follow this philosophy of a rebuild and still podium. So I'm very happy about that, and my wallet is definitely very happy about that as well, with the prize money. So in terms of NAC, that's sort of it. I think it was a great comp for me. In terms of a 3-blinder and a big blinder. The only thing is I missed 5-blind podium, a really easy 5-blind podium, because, I don't know, I just wasn't in the right mindset during 5-blind, but everything else I'm very happy about. And, definitely considering that I've screwed up quite a few comps recently, I'm happy that I really locked in on this one and, did pretty well. So, in terms of NAC, that's pretty much it in terms of my competition strategy, everything. I wasn't too nervous, and it's weird. Like multi-blind isn't something that actually makes me nervous, because after a minute or so, you're sitting down and you're locked in. I would like to take like a minute just to thank the organizers and everything, because this was like ideal conditions for multi-blind. As you see, everybody was against the wall, sort of in a U fashion in the room, and there was no duplicate scrambles, nothing. Like I didn't hear any issues at all, and that's one thing that I'm very grateful for at this competition. One thing that this comp made me think about and actually really works well as a concept is, I guess, something I called a reset PR, where if you have a really good PR from a long time ago that you can't beat, instead of always trying to beat that PR, why don't you just mentally sort of reset your PR to something recent, or even just say, okay, starting now, I will count my PRs like, from this day on as if I never set any PRs. And I thought about this after, I think, the first multi-attempt, where I think just for this journey, I will consider my PR, even though I have the 46 pointer, I will consider my PR that 39 out of 44 on the first video I've made, and continue on from there. So that last video was 33 points, and then at this competition, I broke my, I guess you could call it a pseudo PR 2 times, with the 36 point attempt and then the 38 point attempt. And hopefully that will keep on climbing. And I feel really smart coming up with this concept, because it works so well for other events too. I guess in 3-blind, like my 15:05, that's a pretty good mean. And it's not always easy to beat that. And so instead of killing myself trying to beat that all the time, I can just try and go for more easily obtainable goals by trying to break those. So in terms of in my head, my multi-PR right now is 38 points, and I will continue trying to break that. Here I did 50 cubes with quite a bit of ease and 5 passing, and I think I will continue 5 passing in comp, at least for safety attempts, just because it's so easy and I can still get up there, and I feel like that's the key to breaking my PR and getting into the 40-50 point range. It's obviously something I'll have to practice, but I will be continuing my 4-pass practice on 60 and high 60s, because that's the ultimate goal, right? So I think that from now on I probably won't do any less than 50 officially, just because of how this attempt went. I just have to keep in mind that this is the type of pace that I need to be at for 50 attempts. So my next competition is actually not until November, or at least what I have planned now. And you could say that sucks, but I think it's actually pretty good because it leaves me, quite a bit of time to really work on and fix things that don't work well for me, such as my letter pairs, where I have conflicting letter pairs that suck, or stuff like, learning alternate letter pairs for LTCT and T2C and twists and flips so that you can save words during memo. And, that's not easy to do if you have a competition every weekend, because you never want to risk learning something new. You can't take risk because you always have an attempt the next week. So it's you don't have time to sit down and actually work on things. But luckily I do have this time now. And so that's what I'll be doing. I think I'll start doing fairly constant 4-pass 60 attempts at home. Finish up building my 5th palace and solidify my 4th palace so I can do attempts pretty regularly, and I hope I can stream those attempts as well for you guys to see. I will probably make a community post about that if I start doing it. Right now I just got back from NAC and I'm just trying to settle down at home and chill out a bit. But yeah, so that's all I have to say for this episode. Watch me DNF these last 2 cubes, which is extremely frustrating because on my 48 out of 50, the last 2 cubes were DNF'd as well, so I don't know what's happening. This is a different palace, which is weird, so there's nothing inherently bad to do. I think it's just a coincidence. And one more thing is that if you didn't know, this podium that we got was actually the world record podium. We got the highest sum of points, I think, by 4. Compared to Worlds 2019, and so obviously it's not the best podium ever, but all 3 of us can do, or I guess 2 and 3 can do much better. Graham did pretty solid, and hopefully I'll be part of a much better world record podium in the future. But yeah, that's pretty cool.